You're listening to Business Talk Radio, where we take business to the next level.
Hello and welcome to Rapping with Dr. Jacalyn. We are live here on Business Talk Radio and social media. We are here with Doctor Who and our special guest, and this is the Underdog Show. I am your host and executive producer, Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. I am a certified life, career, yoga, and meditation coach. Let's bring out the one and only Doctor Who, Ben Chai, joining us from London. Hi, Ben.
Hey, how you doing, Dr. J?
Doing really well. It's always good to see you. You always are quite well dressed and looking very dapper.
Oh, you're very kind. And I always love being in your fantastic yoga-y meditative energy.
Namaste.
Namaste.
So, Doctor Who, before we bring our guest out, why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Oh, that's a really cool thing. So in terms of what I do, I'm an author, actor, business entrepreneur, and all-round fun guy most of the time, except when I'm being moody. That's what I do. And who I am, that is a very, very great question, which I'm currently exploring at the moment. And the reason I'm exploring it is because that's my new mission, to really try and understand this concept of who you are. So that's me. And I'm going to give you back to the lovely Dr. J.
Well, thank you so much. So you brought us a fantastic, talented guest today. Can you please share a little bit about her before we bring her out?
Yes, Dr. Zakiya. Well, this is the Underdog Show. So we like to have people who've overcome tremendous adversity. And Dr. Z, she has overcome a whole bunch of challenges to help her even get to her doctorate. She's had challenges with her walking and so on, which impacted her work in the corporate world. And she has this really fantastic kind of like insight on an aspect called microaggressions, which I had to go and look up when I first heard about it. And I thought, whoa, that's been happening to me. And no wonder I was feeling uncomfortable around certain people's presence, but I never knew what it was. And so I was listening to Dr. Z at an event, and I just thought, we must have this woman here on the show, Dr. J. Did you know what a microaggression was?
I did not until you mentioned to me, and I went and looked it up too. And I thought, oh my gosh, I've been having this as well. So.
I know, isn't that amazing? So I just felt everybody really needs to understand what's going on, why it's going on, and also find out a little bit about how Dr. Z, who has had amazing challenges, and this is what this show's about, has overcome them to inspire other people to overcome similar challenges in their life.
And we have a comment actually from an old friend of mine. Wow, I can appreciate you saying that, Doctor Who. I too am trying to figure out who I am at the amazing age of 50. Hi, Oscar. It's nice to have you with us today. Fantastic. Any comments you want to make back to Oscar?
No, Oscar, that is an interesting question. There's a fantastic film called Anger Management, where Dr. Sandler, I call everyone Doctor, where Adam Sandler plays this guy who has this anger issue, and Jack Nicholson keeps saying, "Who are you?" And he answers, and it's wrong. And he says, "Try again." And then he bursts out with anger at Jack Nicholson. Says, "What do you want me to say?" So yes, absolutely. Mate, I will help you later on when I figure this one out.
Thank you, Oscar. It's really a pleasure to see you, even though it's virtually. Okay, so let's bring out our guest. She's joining us from Virginia. Hi, doctor. How are you?
Thank you so much for
the opportunity. Dr. Z is in the house.
Dr. Z, we have 3 doctors today. I love it. Full house.
Oh, this is an exciting conversation. Thank you so much for inviting me to your platform.
Well, we are thrilled to have you here on the Underdog Show. And before we start going back and forth with some questions, why don't you just give us a brief overview of who you are and the value that you're bringing to this wonderful world?
Absolutely. Thank you for the question. My name is Dr. Zakiya Mabery, and I am an individual who's so passionate about diversity, equity, and inclusion. Just to give you a little bit of background, when I was in high school, I was in special education because of a learning disability. And approaching my senior year, I started making plans, as most teenagers do at that time, for what's in the future. I wanted to go to college. I talked to one of my high school teachers about it, and he said, well, I've never had someone in your situation want to actually go to college, a 4-year college. And I said, what is that supposed to mean? He said, well, you're in special education. Do you want to do a technical school or something of that nature? And I was crushed. We all have those times in life, which I call defining moments, where something happens to you that you will never forget. And it makes you focus on what your trajectory would be. So I talked to my parents, who were wonderful advocates for me and still are, about the situation. Fast forward, I went to traditional college. I went and attained my master's degree, and now I have a PhD behind my name in leadership. And I say this to people who may have gone through something or have someone tell them that you're not smart enough, you're not capable, you're not innovative enough, you're not courageous enough. Do not let that deter you. You can do anything that you want to do in life if you put your mind to it. And with that, I've worked in corporate America for the federal government, for Fortune 500 companies. And one of the companies, 1 out of 500 applicants only make it through the screening process. So just let that sink in, from someone who was told, I'm not smart enough to go to college. And now I just help organizations become more inclusive, and making sure that people feel like they can belong.
Hooray!
May I say what an honor it is to meet you and have you on our program. Congratulations. You are a superstar.
Thank you so much.
May I, Dr. Z, may I just ask you what you mean by a learning difficulty? Because so my daughter, she had, what's the anagram of daily sex now? Dyslexia, that's it. Mm-hmm. She had dyslexia. I have kind of a little bit of social anxiety and autism, but I don't feel that these are learning difficulties. I just feel like my thing helps me focus on certain aspects, and my daughter's thing helped her look at life differently, which has helped her really well in business. So I get kind of offended that they're called even learning disabilities.
I totally understand what you're saying. Now that I'm more seasoned, let's just say that I have more birthdays on the calendar, I have learned from other people that they're uncomfortable with the word disability. But at that time in life, that is what they're calling it. Now I do definitely like to refer to as differently able. I process information differently. Yes, one of the labels or diagnoses was dyslexia. Also, something called a nonverbal learning disability. And I would ask that you guys research that to see a little more about it. But similarly to you, Dr. Ben, it affects how I deal in social situations. Additionally to that, I have mental health impairments that have been diagnosed by psychiatrists. And so all of those different things makes it a little challenging at times, working, learning, and interacting in social situations. And that also would affect one's learning.
Yeah, I can see that because you learn, if I remember correctly, more visually. Was that it?
Absolutely, you remember. Yes, I'm more of a visual learner, and sometimes I found it helpful in working and to have what's called a reasonable accommodation is when an employer makes an adjustment to your duties at work so that you can feel like I said before, you belong. So for me, sometimes instead of having something just verbally said to me, I might need to recap it in writing to make sure I understood. Now, for many of you, be like, okay, that's just being a supervisor. Actually, it's not. In so many of the places that I've worked, they find it, they're going above and beyond, but it's really here just a reasonable accommodation so that I can make sure I'm processing all the information appropriately so I can over deliver on the deliverables.
Wow.
Dr. Z, I'm wondering, as you share this, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling fine now. And I appreciate you asking that because I know that people can learn from my story. There could be someone right now in high school, college, in the work sector who may have gone through something similar or going through something similar. Now, had you asked me this question 10 years ago, I would have been sweating, nervous, being open with the whole world about this because you have an international show. But now I understand being vulnerable and talking about my lived experience can help so many other people.
Well, it's not just the people who are going through it, but the parents. So, I don't think my parents really knew how to deal with me because, what do? Do you accept what the headmaster and the teachers say? Mm-hmm. I mean, it sounds like you had some great parents who were an advocate for the amazing Dr. Z, although they didn't call you Dr. Z at the time, So now that you've got your more experience, lived on this planet, what advice would you give to parents who know that their children are learning differently, but they don't actually know what to do? I mean, my daughter was just amazing at dealing with her dyslexia. She just thought, this is a great thing I've got, Dad, because I get so many grants, I get free money from the government. And she got free software and a computer, and she set up her business. And that's what
I wish I was like her at that age, because I certainly was not. Yes, my parents, mommy, daddy, if you're watching this, thank you so much. And I just want to add, they're celebrating their 50th wedding anniversary in May. So I've had an example of great leadership and loving parents. And one of the things that my parents always did, they will pop up. They will pop up to the school and have a conversation in a heartbeat with the educators, being very active in the planning of my IEP, individual education plan, and the superintendent, if need be, if there was a problem. So I would contend to the parents, if you're having a child who's having any type of challenges in school, be there, be that parent that they know that they can lean on, because after all, it is your responsibility for your children. If they're having any difficulties, they might need therapy. There's a lot going on in the world right now. On the backdrop of 2020, we have had a lot of challenges. Children are in school right now. They're not able to They're learning differently, learning remotely. So they might need to see a therapist. They might need to be tested to see exactly what is going on. And I know for a fact in the Black and Brown community, there's a lot of stigma attached to mental health or learning disabilities. But if you know what's going on, then you can know how to resolve or get help for your child. So I just encourage you to be the parent that's on the front lines cheerleading on, being a cheerleader for your student, your child that you love.
Right. And just how would somebody know whether your child was just being naughty, or just had issues at home, or really had a learning challenge or difference in understanding information?
That's an excellent question.
Yeah.
You have to get your child tested and evaluated. The first step is, I contend, is to let them see a licensed therapist so that they can have conversations with the child and get a little backdrop on what is going on with their emotions. And so maybe they might do art therapy. They might just do cognitive behavior therapy. They might do a lot of different practices to try to get to the root cause of the problem. And then they might do some testing to see where this individual might be struggling. It could be because they're in a class that is at a lower pace than what they need. They might be a genius. They might be bored in class. We don't know what the problem is until you get it professionally assessed. And so that is why it's important for you to listen to your child when they're talking about challenges that they're having in their learning environment, because what is happening to them as a child could definitely impact the rest of their life.
Yeah. So, sorry, Dr. J. I'm just taking out. I'm just loaded with questions.
That's okay. No, that's fine.
Come on. It's just like open up all these like whoa. But how did they find out that? Because how do you know that you learn very visually that rather than verbally? Because it wasn't even known in my kind of thing. How would they have even diagnose that and think, and then there's all the lessons, because most lessons are written verbally, in books and stuff with words. It's like, and then how did you pick it up? It's like, I'm overloaded with.
Well, there's another layer. I grew up in Germany, so my mom didn't know if some of my stuttering or some of my language problems was because I was growing up in a different country other than here in the United States. So I grew up in Germany up until 9th grade. So some of my dialect, I used to mix English and German mixed together because my parents had a lot lot of German friends, but my parents just had to be very intentional about me and my studies.
Dr. Z, we can't wait to hear more from you. And I know, Dr. Who, you've got more questions, but we have to take a break and hear from some of our sponsors. So I do want to say hello to Red O'Laughlin, to Fraser Ramsey, to Marissa DeMuro Soprano, to Brenda Bohm, to Diane Smith. Thank you for watching. We will be right back after we hear from our sponsors. Stay with us.
Hey everybody, my name is Ralph Graves Jr. I'm the host of the Ralph Graves Jr. Show, and I want to invite you to pick up my book, Unstoppable. I wrote a book called Unstoppable. It's 7 universal laws that will transform how you pursue and achieve success. The one thing that my 20 years of law enforcement has taught me is that no matter who you are, we are all governed by universal laws, like gravity. But in this book, we're going to talk about laws like the law of forgiveness, laws like the law of control, the law of intelligent practice, the law of expectancy. I was able to see how those, no matter what their background was, those who identified and treated these laws with respect, they were able to go on and lead successful lives. So pick up this book, and you can go ahead and pick it up at Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, RalphGravesJr.com, where anywhere where fine books are sold. Thank you.
There are 7.7 billion people on Earth today. 40% of these people are under the age of 25. Young adults are the most fertile mission field in the world today. In Scripture, we see Jesus pouring his life into 12 young adults who he equipped to change the world and all of history. Like Jesus, we believe that the best approach to reach the world with the gospel is to invest in young, emerging leaders and equip them to build disciple-making movements. Concentric is the notion of surrounding and sharing a common center. Our center is the model and strategy of Jesus for both leadership development and ministry formation. As a global alliance, we provide equipping in biblical leadership based on Jesus' example in the New Testament. Jesus modeled for us how to make disciples that reproduce. Focusing on leadership development is key to creating movements that spread the gospel and Jesus' disciple-making strategy to young leaders around the globe. Our Ministry Alliance partners are actively equipping leaders and building movements of multiplication that reproduce the life of Christ. Join us today to equip young leaders with Jesus' strategy that will change cities and nations.
The session that we had with BCAT was really entertaining and enlightening. We were able to put together some very specific steps that we as individuals can take, and it was really fun to all come together and see sort of where we're going as a team and how we can all get there together.
We had a tremendous experience with the BCAT partners. One of the challenges that we have as an organization is to make sure that we have the right people in the right chairs doing the right thing. To do that well, you have to have synergy. You can try to dream up ways to make sure that your group does that, or you can rely on experts. We would recommend BCAT partners to anybody who's looking to take their organization to the next level.
Academy Sedan and Limo is a full-service transportation company serving the Philadelphia metropolitan area with full knowledge of the New York City, Baltimore, and Washington, D.C. areas. We pride ourselves on being the most dependable, conscientious company in the industry. Our always on-time service and dependable pricing make us the company to call for any event or occasion. Our vehicles can accommodate any size party for any occasion. Our vehicles range from four-door sedans to SUVs to minivans to limo buses to full-size tour buses and can accommodate groups of 2 to 100. We offer airport shuttle service or over-the-road service without limitation regarding mileage or time, and no drive is too long or too far. So if you find yourself in need of transportation of any type with any vehicle, give us a call at 610-842-4564 and let us show you what a real transportation company can do for you.
Use code ACADEMY2020 to receive 20% off your first 3 rides, including parking and tolls.
You're listening to Business Talk Radio, where we take business to the next level.
Hello and welcome back. We are dancing in our seats over here.
I just love your jingle, Dr. J.
Thank you so much. We have a house full of doctors today. We've got Dr. Who. We've got our wonderful guest, Dr. Z. Welcome back. Let's start off with a question that we have here in the Underdog Show from my friend Oscar. I'm a very visual learner. I find it to come easy when it's hands-on training learning. Is that considered a disability?
That's a great question, Oscar. I would just like to say that this is for educational and awareness purposes. I cannot diagnose. So if you go see your provider, you can get more information about how to have tests to see if you actually do have a learning disability. But it's a great that you're observing your learning style, because that's how we consume information, is by how we learn. So being in tune to that is very important.
Thank you. Thanks for the question, Oscar.
Thank you, Oscar. You know, in the training world, we just think of people who learn verbally, kinesthetically, which is all touchy, kind of, or did I say visually? Visually, verbally, and kinesthetically, yeah. Sound. So that's what we understand. That I've never understood it, as a disability. Really, I just think, oh, you learn better if I could show you a picture. There you go. Here's a picture.
Right. But it's important to learn that, yes, some people just learn differently and they don't have a disability. However, some people do have a diagnosed disability. And we just together have to figure out how to make sure that they're most comfortable in their learning environment.
Okay, cool. So, I was saying in our chat box just during the adverts, we've got so many questions for Dr. Z. Where should we go with this? I was thinking maybe if we finish off a little bit on the parenting side and then segue into microaggressions, because I think that's a huge topic as well. And I know, Dr. Z, wherever I've seen you go on other interviews and in Clubhouse, you're always talking about microaggressions, and everyone's going, "Whoa, what's that?" So
I can't wait to hear directly from Dr. Z.
Yes, absolutely. So let's go back to the childhood bit. What did you ever feel frustrated with your kind of speed of learning, and were you able to kind of help? What did it take for you to get through that frustration, to think, no, I'm as clever as everybody else, it's just that I'm learning differently?
That's a good question. It wasn't until I would say definitely after college when I just learned to embrace who I was, how I learned, and how I showed up in the world. And it wasn't on my own. It was with other organizations, such as an organization now called Disability In, where I had the opportunity to work alongside others who have had diagnosis of various disabilities, physical, mental health challenges, learning, all of those different things. And I found out that it's okay to show up your authentic self. But when I was a child and when I was in high school, yes, I totally felt very uncomfortable with this new world, these new labels that I had on me. And I felt that I wasn't smart enough. And then it was just reconfirmed when that educator told me that, Zakiya, you are not college material. So, we often have imposter syndrome, right? We've heard about that before, where you don't think you should be in the position that you're in or at that level, or you're not operating at that level. But I had to have mentors, people to pour into me. And I also had to do the hard work myself on self-talk, working and writing in my journal to let myself know that it's okay for it to be where you are. I've managed teams when I'm the youngest person in the room. And I've also, because of those negative thoughts that have been in my mind, I have to battle them. It's like on this shoulder, it's like, Zakiya, you can do it. On this one, it's like, remember, you can't. But it's about the work that you're starting to do internally with yourself. I found that most helpful.
Thank you so much. Dr. Jacalyn, I think Dr. Z said in the chat box she needs to turn off the TV. Shall we just recap while she's turning off the TV?
Oh, I missed that. Yes.
Yes. So from your perspective, if you're a parent and your child is going through these kind of challenges, what would you say Dr. J, are three key things that a parent, or if you're going through a learning situation, that you should do?
Well, hi, welcome back, Dr. Z. Well, I think first of all that it's not helpful to keep it inside, because we keep everything locked inside and it affects our health. And then what happens is, at least, because I have a disability, I'm allergic to airborne shellfish, and then people start to, put you down, and then you feel at least smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller till you don't even feel like you exist. And then there's this whole onslaught of shame that comes along with it. So I think one thing is, don't keep it to yourself, because if you're going through it, other people are going through it too. And if you just unlock that, right, you're going to help somebody else. So now that Dr. Z's back, let's have her fill in what she thinks of two other things. Yes.
Dr. J.
Dr. J, I feel you're right on the money. It keeps eating at you, and you have these self-defeating thoughts that occur until you learn the tools on how to work through them. There's an example I do with my client. I have them think about something. Let's say for 2020 example, put down all three things that really went wrong in your mind, or that you felt that were failures. And then I would like for you to, after reviewing each of those three things, think about the silver lining of one of them. What was one thing that you can say, well, it caused this? For example, being geographically separated for friends and loved ones. I can say that I was able to work on myself. I was able to develop a little more as a professional. I was able to write several books. So you still have to look at the positive in every situation, even though at that time it might not seem as well. And so, like you mentioned, Dr. J, getting it out, journal. One thing that I found very helpful for myself is to write 5 to 7 things that I'm grateful for in a gratitude journal every evening. Now, I didn't come up with that myself. My therapist, it was a homework assignment from her, but I saw how that began to shift my mindset. So really working on yourself and practicing mindset skills.
Excellent. I think also, I know for me, I have 3 autoimmune illnesses. And so I got involved with a support group. Now I'm running the support group. But I think when you're around people who understand what you're going through, then you have a community of people that you feel comfortable with.
I totally agree with you. When you're around them, you can share your lived experience and they can say, I went through this and this is what I did. Or if you're struggling with pain, for example, I can understand with my fibromyalgia in a support group, they can say, I tried this and this helped. Matter of fact, massages, that has helped, but a certain type of massage. And I had that last night and actually my body is feeling better. But I learned from this from someone else who's gone through the situation.
Wow.
Share the wealth, right?
Yes, share it. Don't be selfish with your knowledge.
Yeah. Dr. Z, I really like the pictures behind you, but I think the white paint should be more silvery, totally silvery, don't you think?
Thanks.
That was my attempt at a microaggression.
Microaggressions are so impactful to understand how they affect someone. I've been told before, wow, you sound so intelligent. Well, how am I supposed to sound? This is how I speak. Or you speak white. That's a slight on me being an African-American woman. Or you don't look like you have a disability. What does someone with a disability supposed to look like? Mind you, my whole career, pretty much I've been working in the C-suite level because I work in HR or working in diversity and inclusion. And these things are still being said. So that's why your show, The Underdog, is so important to bring awareness to us, the underdog, because I am an underdog. So that's why I'm like, this is such an appropriate show. What words matter. What you say can have an impact that lasts forever on somebody. Dr. Ben, what's a microaggression that you've heard?
Well, no, I was wondering whether that was a good microaggression I just gave you.
It didn't hit hard like daggers, some of the ones I've heard.
Oh, well, no, because I was going to go for something horrible, and then I thought, no, I don't think so, because you don't know me well enough. Dr. J would know, but I need to know you better before I attempt it. In my autistic world, I've learned not to do certain things.
Of course. That goes back to this. You're consciously unbiased, like my shirt said. You consciously make an effort to not be biased. So therefore, it's going to be a little difficult for you to stretch and do those things because you have trained yourself throughout the years to try to be consciously unbiased. And what does that mean? You make a concerted effort not to display biases towards individuals. Now, we're all biased because we're human, right? We all have a brain that is functioning. But when you start making a concerted effort not to offend someone or to use emotional intelligence to pinpoint where your biases lie, how they're showing up in the world, and to try to make micro changes, that's where it really counts, is as you try to change those things that could harm or offend someone else.
Yeah. So let's start with what is microaggression?
That was my question.
Oh, sorry. Dr. J,
very good question. Microaggression, in simple terms, it could be a statement like I just said, you don't look disabled, or it could be an action. An action could be, for example, if you're sitting on a virtual meeting or on a table in a meeting and you say a recommendation and everyone is sitting there, no one says anything. This is an example I love to give. It's crickets. No one says anything. And then someone else who does not look like you says something almost identical to what you just said. And it's like, woo, you, that's the best idea I've heard since sliced bread. That can be an action when you and your ideas have been simply ignored, or an incident that is subtle. And like I said, it's not intentional, but it still hurts the person who's being the victim of this, or the discrimination is done too. So that's why we have to be very conscious about what are microaggressions, how we're showing up, or if we've ever done it before. Even making off-color jokes about a certain demographic could be considered to be a microaggression. And it really is affecting marginalized populations. And so that's why we really want to work, especially in this day and time, on trying to minimize microaggressions.
Right. So listeners, please do search for Dr. Zakiya Mabery online, and you'll see a fantastic podcast she did with, I think it was a HR podcast, whatever it is, with a guy called Ben. What a fantastic name.
He was wonderful. And he's from, I believe, the UK as well.
Us Bens, he sounded Australian, but us Ben, he could be an Australian living in the UK.
All right. Yes, that was a lot of fun.
It's an amazing podcast which goes through a lot of these microaggressions aspects. And yes, I don't know whether Dr. J's been through this, but I've often been the person who's suggested an idea and suddenly people have got on board, or certainly in Clubhouse, the conversations have gone down. So I'll open it up, or somebody has said something and I've opened it up, and suddenly everybody is now working with that person. And I'm like kind of just being marginalized. So I feel very kind of, well, I shouldn't have felt aggrieved, because really my job is just to open up the conversation. It's just like it's Ben wasn't the guy who set it up. So I often feel, well, am I feeling like, isn't that my job, or am I right to feel this kind of like little heartache inside, and next time I won't open that person up so that other people can see how amazing they are.
Well, I would like to say to you, I've been in rooms with you on Clubhouse, and I think your thoughts are amazing. This conversation we're having right now would not have happened if we did not connect on Clubhouse. I think it's a powerful tool. But I also would like to say your feelings are valid. Let me repeat that again. Dr. Ben, your feelings are valid. If you felt like someone brushed over you or your idea, sit with that uncomfortableness and then think about how the next time it happens, are you going to perhaps do something about it? Maybe send that person a DM if that's a mod that you're familiar with, and say, hey, I just want to let you know, this is I started a conversation about this, and then blah, 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 however you feel to do it. But I'm encouraging people that we have to start speaking up when these microaggressions happen, because how is someone going to learn from it? Now, what the person does with that information is up to them. If they don't handle it well, that is not a reflection of you or your character. That's a reflection of something that they're perhaps going through, and they need to work on growth and receiving feedback that can help them grow as an individual, as a leader, as a person, period. But your feelings are very valid. And back to the situation about the boardroom or the virtual meeting where I have been looked over, I can tell you in the past, sometimes I didn't say anything because I didn't want to be viewed as that angry Black woman. But now what I do is I talk with the person out offline, away from everybody else, and explain what happened, how it made me feel, and then leave it at that. Many times the individual apologized and said that was not my intent. But it's very, very important that we understand intent versus impact. When I worked in equal employment opportunity, EEO, that's very important. When people come into our office to file a complaint for discrimination, oftentimes it's a breakdown in communication, right? But I have to go and talk to the leadership about intent versus impact. It might not have been your intention to say or do this to this employee or give them a lower rating or whatever the issue is, but you have to look at the totality of the picture and how it made that individual feel. And that's why we were sitting having a conversation if in that setting about it. And then someone has to take responsibility sometimes for their actions, whether it's to apologize, change the rating, give them a different job assigning, give them that stretch assignment that we all need to make us a little more marketable. Sometimes it's just you need to bring the person to be aware of what actually occurred.
Wow.
There's a lot of power in those words, right? Intent, impact. I went to the EEOC and filed a claim many, many years ago. It's an interesting experience, and I still have feelings about it. That's for another show. But I love what you said about that Ben's feelings are valid, that how you're feeling is valid and shouldn't just be brushed over.
Absolutely. Thank you for being vulnerable and sharing that you went through the EEO process. And I can say, even though I worked in HR and I've worked in all these different positions, I too have gone through it. And it is a very grueling process. It takes a lot out of you emotionally to go through that entire process, because basically you have to prove why you were wronged. But at the end of the day, it gets the attention of the organization and the leadership, whether you win or don't win. Facts get to be shown. You get to show whether the environment was toxic, what may have caused it or may not have caused it. So those of you that feel like you may have been discriminated against in your organization, speak up. Don't be silent, because as Dr. J pointed out earlier, it can hurt you, like your health, holding on to things.
So because we don't have any procedure as far as I know in the UK, I'm guessing it's like a tribunal or something, or is that right?
Pretty much. It's a process, and a lot of things are time bound. Whether you work for the federal government or in private sector, you have timelines that you have to meet. You can do it by yourself, or you can have legal representation, and you go through different phases, the informal and the formal phase of sometimes answering questions, sometimes providing emails and documentation of what you're alleging. Here in the United States, it's against 7 bases that are tied to Title VII of the Discrimination Act. And so that would be things like your race, your gender, your age. And for age, it has to be under 40, different things. And you have to show how and why you feel that this individual has discriminated against you.
Right. And what if you're scared that someone is going to, like, you'll lose your job as a result of going to that tribunal?
Yeah, many people are scared, but there's something called reprisal. So that means if someone is doing something against you and you feel it was triggered because of your complaints, either in the unofficial capacity or official capacity, you have a right in private and public sector, by the federal government, to file an additional amendment. Amendment means change your original claim and say, okay, on 7 April, this happened. I was denied the opportunity to go to training, and I feel that this is retaliatory because of the EEO complaint that I filed.
That's pretty cool.
Yes, that's really cool. We have to take a commercial break. My apologies. And we're staying on till the full hour, which is really terrific because we have so much good content here from Dr. Z. And we're going to start off our commercial break with a clip from Dr. Z. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
Hello, boys and girls, and welcome to Story Garden. Your host, Diane Boehm. I'm so happy to have you here today.
Diane Floyd Boehm tells wonderful stories that warm the heart, spark the imagination, and unite people and families across generations. For children, Diane's Harry the Camel connects with all of us who've ever wondered how different our lives might have been if only we'd been born something better, like a wonderful horse instead of an ordinary camel. In the end, we all learn along with Harry that there's nothing better than just being yourself. Diane's Little Girl in the Moon looks down on earthbound children and wonders if they know she's just like them. A story of love, home, and the bond between mother and daughter, its powerful theme that we're each of us different yet all of us the same plants a seed in children that promises to blossom within a loving and trusting grown-up. Diane's new biography, Rise, recounts the experiences of her grandmother, Ruby, to reveal the hidden strength of the human spirit. Ruby's story inspires all of us to become the best versions of ourselves. You'll find all of Diane's delightful books and much more at DianeFloydBoehm.com. Visit DianeFloydBoehm.com. That's DianeFloydBoehm.com.
The world of healthcare is benefiting us in many ways, but the risk of becoming a victim to an airborne infection is increasing at a fast pace too. There are threats from viruses, allergic pollen, and chemicals which cause you loss of health, income, business, mental health, family and friends. All are at stake. One solution to this threat are the BV Air Sanitation Placide-based systems. When you call our team on 0208 104 3253, you find out about the amazing protection available. Protection that uses certified Battlefield, tested, standard and customized air disinfection systems for your personal and business use. Each system uses a filterless technology known as Placide, which attacks all airborne particles with microlighting to destroy and eliminate viruses and other harmful particles in your office, transport and home. You also benefit from extra bonuses such as low running and maintenance costs, no regular filter and part changes. You get to work with our trained experts and professional staff and be made aware of the latest in airborne protection and disinfection strategy. Keep yourself healthy by working with our trained experts and Placide virus killing systems, which keep you safe from airborne viruses. BV Air Sanitation Limited. We save lives, save businesses, and prevent infection. Schedule your free consultancy call and virus protection checklist. Call 0208 104 3253 or connect to us on www.bvbuster.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, here it is, the most listened to radio show on the planet. Even the other stations are tuned in too.
You're listening to Business Talk Radio, where we take business to the next level.
Guess what? We're back. Here we are.
Hey.
Underdog show. Yay!
I want you back. Do you know, I was wondering the other day whether I did a microaggression to my daughter. So Dr. Z, what I said to her, she said something to me, and I said, oh, yeah, that was like when you weren't doing X, Y, Z correctly, and you did this for a while. That was like that. And then she said to me, Dad, I just need to say this to you. That makes me feel really bad when you say this. Could you, if you have to use an example in future, because could you use another example that doesn't involve me? And so she was really straight, and I thought, oh yeah, because I said, but you were only like that for 3 months, and we fixed it and stuff. She said, it doesn't matter. It bothers me, and it takes me into a horrible place.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ben, for raising a daughter who knows it's okay to speak up and let you know when she's feeling uncomfortable. And I'm not quite sure if it was a microaggression, because I don't know if you said something about women or something about her age. I need more specifics. But
sorry, carry on. It was nothing like that. It was about a process.
Oh, okay. Well, no, you were just being a father who may have offended his daughter. And I'm glad that she was able to feel comfortable enough to let you know that, because we have to stop speaking. We have to start speaking up, everyone, and letting people know how you feel about a situation, because how can you grow? Now you know, don't use that type of example, because ever again. While we were watching the commercial break, I saw the book by Diana. I believe I met her on a flight like maybe 2 years ago when I was going to go do training. I believe her and her husband live in Dubai.
Yes,
I know her. Yes, I have one of her books. We're on a flight. We talked small world. She was so beautiful, and it was great having a conversation with her. I come from a military family, and she's like, when you come to Abu Dhabi, please let me know. We could do this, we could do that, and how we talked about everything and traveling. She was a wonderful person, and I met her husband too. He was there. So in Army, what I was saying, it's a small world, and it gets even smaller once you start traveling around. So kudos to you, Diana, for all the books that you have created for individuals.
She's usually watching the show. I'm going to text her. She's actually in Texas now.
Oh, they moved from okay, good.
Yeah, that is fantastic. Thank you for sharing that. I love connected. I have a question for you, Dr. Z, in terms of microaggressions. If we make a sarcastic comment or a flip comment, is that a microaggression?
It could be. Like, for using the word, let's say crazy. Oh, I think she's so crazy, or she's acting so bipolar. That can offend someone who is bipolar themselves or have a mental health impairment, or someone in their family. Or another one could be the word gay that people, like in the United States, use a lot of time. Oh, that's so gay, meaning lame. But for people who's a part of the LGBTQ community, that's not funny, like using those type of words. So we need to be more intentful about the words that we're using, because it can offend the person who we're around or someone who they love or care about.
Yeah, I mean, this is quite interesting. What I was thinking was, like, where do we draw the line between, hey, this was a fun thing? Like, when I'm in the States, if I call a friend an idiot, he gets offensive. If I do it in the UK, we're okay about it, because in the UK, we know that the only people where we make these jokes or sarcastic things are our friends. If we didn't like you, we just wouldn't even talk with you. And so I was trying to educate my American friends. I love you.
I get it.
Do you know what I mean?
I totally do. I've been to the UK several times, and I travel a lot, period, across the globe. But this is what I tell people. You have to know your audience and the culture that you're around. You have to know what's acceptable for the environment in which you're in. Yes, I can say the Brits are a little more straightforward and their jokes could be a little more harsh. That's cool. But when you're in a different culture... you have to adapt to the environment that you're in. Additionally, you're talking about with friends versus your colleague. You might not tell the same type of joke. You might not tell your colleague, you know what, that was an idiot move. Why did you send that email? That was just dumb. You might not say that to your colleague, but you might say to your friend, dude, like, why did you send that? It didn't have like all the correct information. You might say something totally different. So I would just contend to know your environment, the culture in which you're saying these things.
Like,
Right.
I have an example. I would hear this over and over again. You're such a dumb blonde. Or that was a dumb blonde comment. Really? Really?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. And for someone who's blonde,
I feel so bad for saying that to you, Dr.
I actually was referring to you. I didn't want to say anything now, but now that we're public, it's out in the air. It was Doctor Who. It was not Doctor Who.
I love the show.
We could. And by the way, I texted Diane to see if she's watching the show that you met her on a flight. It's so funny.
Okay.
I love it.
Yes.
So, so if you say something to someone that you think you didn't intend it to be received a certain way, couldn't someone also say, someone who's not in tune yet with what their behavior is, well, that's on you. That's your fault that you took it that way. I didn't mean it that way. What do you say about that, Dr. Z?
I go back to, they have some growth to do. At least you did your due diligence to let them know. So hopefully in the future they wouldn't do the same thing. But if they do or don't, you've done your responsibility of informing them so that hopefully in the future they won't do the same thing. I'm a sharp shooter as well, Dr. Ben. And so, but I know some of the people that I'm around, I have to tell what I'm saying to them or the environment, whether I'm speaking to middle managers or senior leadership about how I say things. And in the past, I've had an employee tell me before, my executive assistant, Zakiya, when we're under a crunch time, you can come off a little brash. And I took notice of that. I was not offended. I felt very happy that Jackie can come to me and tell me that. And so I worked hard going forward when we had suspenses of being more deliberate about the words that I said to her, because I personally don't want anyone to feel bad or offended by anything that I say or I do.
Just
by the way, Diane is watching.
Oh, yeah.
Hi, Diane.
Nice to see you.
You know, it's interesting, the power of branding, right? So we played her clip, you watched the clip, and now you guys are going to be reunited.
Yes.
Love it. Thanks, Diane.
Yeah, I was wondering, Dr. Z, do people weaponize microaggressions the other way? So I could say a lot of things to you. They're not microaggressions, but then you can complain to me, to HR or whoever, and say, Ben said these, I find these offensive, but I may not have said them, or they may have taken things because they're oversensitive, and I hadn't realized that at the time, and will take everything I say to a different level.
Absolutely. People can weaponize your words and your actions. But one thing that I would say, again, it goes back to intent versus impact, making sure that you're intentional about the words that you say and the things that you do. There are a lot of times where we've seen it on the news where people are using different things and weaponizing it. The Central Park dog walker, she weaponized the man who was filming the birds. But what you have to do is just making sure that you're showing up as an inclusive individual and that you are putting your best heart forward, meaning that you're doing things and trying to be inclusive of other people so that when they're going through the fact-finding process, that they will find that you have a track record of doing XYZ, meaning good, and making sure that you're inclusive. If it's a mistake, maybe if it was a Floridian slip and you said something, you just have to be able to live with integrity and say, acceptance. You know what? I said XYZ, it was a slip and I apologize. It just means that the people who are analyzing the information, whether if it's just a little something micro or if it's really egregious, how they will handle moving forward.
There you go.
Yeah, thank you so much for that, Dr. Z. With all the work that you're doing I just wondered if you might know someone else in a similar area, Trish Robichaud.
I'm not. No, I don't think so.
I'm going to connect you guys. I love the connection.
Okay.
So,
Thank
Dr.
you.
Ben, you're welcome. Dr. Ben, I know you have some more questions in there. We've got about 4 more minutes. Which question is burning inside you? Need to ask Dr.
Goodness. You know what? I'm going to let Dr. Z give a 3-minute masterclass in what to do with microaggressions, because I can take 3 things away as I normally do. One, if you feel someone's aggrieved by them, have a conversation. Initially have it privately. Then if that doesn't work out, either take it to HR. Is there ever a time where you take it publicly and say, look, we've had a discussion and I feel or do you give them a second chance? You know, where does that one go? And the third thing, if your company allows it to take it to the union, but make sure that there's no component of you having a constructive dismissal kind of scenario involved.
Yeah, those are all good points, Dr. Ben. I would say one of the key things that I've always told my managers and my leaders is and also employees, to make sure you document. That's going to save you every time. Even if it's a memorandum for record, meaning if an incident happened today and I send an email to myself and blind copy my personal email, because you might not always be with the company, about the incident, it shows a couple of things. A, that you're writing it while it's fresh in your mind after the incident happened. B, there's a time and date stamp that when you send it, because oftentimes people can backtrack things that they have in a notebook or a log or something where they're keeping notes of potential issues in an organization. So make sure you send a memorandum for record. The next thing I would like to say is, as I said before, I just want to echo the sentiment that words matter. So if we do a better job of training our employees, having not just one training on unconscious bias and think it's a wrap. No, it's not a check the box. You need ongoing training about this very important topic of diversity, equity, and inclusion. I also will encourage you to have someone come in and train and speak to your organization who has the technical knowledge as well as the lived experience. And if you would like to reach out to me, you can do so by going to DEI@thezakiyamabery.com and send me an email, and we can always talk about what's going on in your climate. Thirdly, I like to mention a couple pieces of work that I've been working on. In the beginning of the pandemic, I started working on a documentary, and it's coming to fruition. I'm sharing the lived experiences, the stories of individuals from across the globe. I think it's going to be a very impactful tool for educational organizations and also private and federal sector. Lastly, 3 books. The first is The Complete Guide to Diversity and Inclusion in the Age of COVID, which should be out very soon, which will help organizations navigate these uncertain conversations. And at the end of each section, when we're talking about a dimension of diversity, there's some self-work that you can do. The next book that will be coming out is also called Complicated Alliances, in which Dr. Prudence Hill was the visionary. And we're talking about our love for working for Department of Defense. Lastly, My Walk Past Hell, which is the visionary of Dr. Yolanda Jerry. And when we're talking about some of the things that's happened to me and other people in the life, there's 30 authors. So you can turn tragedy, adversity into something to inspire and encourage other people.
Well, you've certainly been busy. Congratulations. That is fantastic. Oh my goodness.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
We have, we've got a comment. This is Trish, the woman I asked if you know.
I look forward to getting in contact with you, Trish.
Yes, that's fantastic. And actually, while Trish is on and you're on, I'm going to play Trish's clip. Let's just take a look at this. We'll be right back.
The world is changing, and your company needs to change with it. Whether it's procurement, employment, marketing, or customer service, it's now more important than ever for your business processes to be inclusive to people with disabilities. Hi, I'm Trish Robichaud with Changing Paces, and I'm here to tell you that making your business processes accessible to people with disabilities is simply good for business. Accessibility and inclusion are the law. But here's what you may not realize. Disability inclusion is an opportunity, not an obstacle. In fact, a recent 4-year study found that companies that fully embrace disability inclusion had a 30% higher profit margin than those that didn't. Your investment in staff disability inclusiveness training can pay off in areas like innovation, brand recognition, as well as customer and employee satisfaction and loyalty, not to mention productivity and profitability. At Changing Paces, we can help you make that happen for your business. Our experts have real-life experience that will help your team gain insight and best practices they won't get anywhere else. And we can help you create a customized training program to bring your organization into compliance with local and industry regulations. This topic is very close to my heart for me, very personal. Dealing with the challenges of MS for the past 25 plus years and having lost my job as a result of my diagnosis back then, I've made it my mission to bring disability out of the darkness and create a more welcoming environment for people of all abilities. As a pioneer in the field of inclusiveness, our company developed and implemented one of the first accessible customer service training programs in Canada. We provide complete online training solutions that blend with your branding, your policies, and your systems. Between our disability subject matter experts and our technical partners, we can provide you with both the content and the platform that you need to create an evergreen training program that empowers your people while it transforms your organization and your company culture. In short, we make disability inclusion easy in all parts of your business. Contact us now for a quote or consultation at info@changingpaces.com. Your bottom line will thank you.
Ooh, that was beautiful, Trish. Thank you so much for the work that you're doing. It's really impactful. And when we connect, I know we're going to be on the phone for a while because we have so many similarities.
I just love this show. This is fantastic. People helping people. It's fabulous.
Me too.
So we've exceeded our hour, which is fantastic. And I'm just wondering, Dr. Z, for people who are listening on the radio, okay, they can't see our banners going by. Can you do me a favor and please spell your name and your website, how to contact you?
Absolutely. Thank you for the opportunity, Dr. J. You can contact me by going to Zakiya, Z as in Zulu, Akiya, and my last name is Mabery, M-A-B as in Bravo, ERY.com. That's the email. Or on LinkedIn. I'm also on YouTube under the same username because I found it was easy to be consistent, Zakiya.Mabery.com. And I also forgot to note I have a shirt on for those you can't see that says Consciously Unbiased. And the name of the organization of where I got this shirt is called Consciously Unbiased. And so if you want to pick one of the shirts up for yourself, you can go to consciouslyunbiased.com to pick up a t-shirt. And this has been a very impactful discussion, Dr. J, Dr. Ben, and I really appreciate it. And it's just like the underdog, like your title of your show, just because we've had traumatic experiences in life or people have told us that we're not worthy, we're not smart enough, just keep showing up, keep fighting, be consistent, and surround yourself with people in your tribe who believe in you and have confidence that you can overcome these things. Because believe in yourself from your heart, you can achieve whatever that thing is that you want to do. I'm a living example of that. And I just want to say thank you for this opportunity.
It has been our pleasure. Thank you so much. I just love the work that you're doing. I would love to have you back. And I'd also like to have you on another show, Stories of Hope, Inspiration, and Overcoming Adversity. So I'll send you the link for that. Your story needs to keep being told over and over again.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jacalyn. Thank you, Dr. Ben.
Thank you, Dr. Z. All right, Dr. Z, we'll see you backstage in just a moment. Doctor Who, anything you'd like to share with people listening or watching our broadcast?
You know, Dr. J, I think it's all been said. It's been a great, great show. And, thank you, as always, for bringing these fantastic people to life with your platform. It's just amazing what you've done. And I'm still in awe of you. I'm still in the honeymoon. Wow, Dr. Jacalyn, there's nothing she can do wrong kind of phase. But I'm just wondering if it will ever end. When I see what the contribution you're making to the world.
Well, thank you. And, I wanted to tell Dr. Z that this book that I wrote that's coming out probably in the next couple of weeks, I share a lot of my personal stories about what I went through and what I did about it and whether it worked out or it didn't work out. But it's a very vulnerable share of real life stories. So, and it's been a pleasure meeting you, Ben. I feel like I've known you forever. It's crazy, but and you brought us such a wonderful guest. So I'm really very grateful to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Are we going to do our outro, the fantastic Rapping with Dr. J clip?
Yes. Yeah. Or do you have your rap ready today?
Oh, you want me to do the rap for you?
Yes.
Oh, goodness, I was hoping you wouldn't bring that one up. Let me see how far I've got. Well, I'll just do the first two verses and expect the third verse for next time. How about that? Yeah.
Sounds good. Thanks.
Yeah. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3. A career coach who helps people with anxiety in the comfort of your home and confidentially builds a plan to overcome them. It's Dr. Jacalyn, who is such a gem. Her many certifications will drive you wild, such as certified coaching in style, certified in yoga, career and mediations. Check out her other certifications. More next week.
I love it. I've never had anyone rap for me, so you are the only one, and you will be the only one. So thank you very much. So for our next week, who do we have as a guest? Let's see. Stay tuned. Our guest next week is Lori Rifkin. Lori Rifkin, and he has a platform, Lunch with Lori. So he will be our guest next week on the Underdog show. And I think that's a wrap for today, Doctor Who.
Sorry?
I think that's a wrap. No, I said wrap, and you're like, oh, no, she wants another wrap. I think that's a wrap for you.
That's a wrap. It's a wrap, guys. Audience, thank you for listening in, tuning in. Please send in any questions you have about the show or any of the aspects of the show that you'd like to be involved in. I'm sure Dr. Jacalyn will love to hear from you. And please do listen to many of the other fantastic shows that are being broadcast with Dr. Jacalyn this week.
Thank you so much. I just want to share a comment from Trish. This is for Dr. Z, who's backstage. Go to booktrish.com and you guys will get connected. Booktrish.com. That's for everybody else out there too. Trish is a true dynamo and professional. She has helped me in so many ways. I can't even tell you. The woman, I don't really think she actually sleeps. She has 2 sets of schedules. I think she works all day and then she works all night. And I don't know when she's sleeping, but she's really good, really an expert. So please reach out to her. Thank you for being here. We have our business show at 2:00 with co-host Al Cini, and we look forward to seeing you then. So for now, sayonara, goodbye, adios, see you later.
See you later. Au revoir.